welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. A user told me you couldn't hear me. Oh my goodness. I've been speaking for 12 minutes and you've heard none of it. My apologies. Thank you so much for letting me know that. Okay, let's start this again. And unfortunately, I won't have that same clarity that came from a source greater than me, and yet I'll still have clarity that will come from a source greater than me. So I honored uh, our couple of our team members who just graduated from university, Jethro and Trisha. And as a result, Jet is not able to be online with us in part because of technology issues. But more importantly, I want them to know that we value them, we appreciate them, we honor the fact that they choose to give and give with integrity and do more than what's typically expected of someone who's just graduating from undergrad. They're giving in a way that adds value. And with that, this topic, the entrepreneurial genius of business partners. And interesting enough, anyone can be a business partner, right? But more importantly, why this topic? This topic is intentional, not only because my team and I, we are open to receiving more business partners. We're having a ball and we need more individuals with a similar mindset, their own unique way of being, to join us on this journey because we're knocking it out the park and we're doing it big time for others. And the benefit, oh my goodness, for others, you contact us and you'll have a way to contact us in a few moments. Uh, that will be in the chat and you'll find out more of the details. But right now, I want to talk about the topic. Why this topic? We need business partners to use their genius to achieve grand visions. We need business partners or partners in business to use their entrepreneurial mindset to develop more leaders. There's something about one who sees the possibility first and may never even see a constraint. All challenges and difficulties are just, or even failures, are considered to be massive opportunities to move forward, to lean in more, to learn, to self correct, or to correct whatever is going on, and to take off. That's what we're talking about in terms of leadership mindset, a growth mindset. Leadership mindset understands that we facilitate literally the greatness in others, and that leaders are about the business of leading, developing leaders. Emphasis on developing leaders. I know that some people put leadership and management as though they're one and the same. You manage things, you lead people. You lead people when you're developing them into the leaders that they either have the capacity to be, or you're honoring the fact that they're already leaders and you're getting out the way, giving them the big vision, the mission, the core goals. In fact, working with them to develop those things and making certain that the values are so transparent. They're embedded in the systems and the policies and procedures, and then people function in a way consistent with that framework. And they're able because they know how to lead and they know how to lead with distinction with your help emphasis added. They're taking care of business. Why this topic? We have problems that require the kind of solutions that you can provide, innovative solutions. In fact, we have some problems we don't even know they're problems. We're walking around as though everything is completely not only normal, the way they should be. And some folks don't know there's another paradigm in which they could be functioning. Imagine, imagine a society first, maybe even a local neighborhood where everyone in the neighborhood is physically healthy, emotionally healthy, happy when they want to be, literally, have a sense of deep joy that goes beyond the surface happiness. and engaged in their faith in such an awesome way. Imagine, imagine, imagine among us, many folks, of the billions of folks, many folks having different parts of the solution to help to facilitate that in that particular neighborhood. Imagine that neighborhood taking what they've learned, what they're using, and sharing that with an entire society. Imagine that entire society sharing it with multiple societies. Imagine the world context being healthy at all levels, practicing the diverse faiths. That ultimately, when you study the Bhagavad Gita, when you study the Bible, you study the Torah, you study the Quran, study all these different religious texts. When you study philosophical texts, you study history, and you look for the values. There's such a beautiful overlap. And yet, we treat us as though we're separate, we're disconnected, never to really integrate and fully align. And yet, we are all one. So, there's a delusion that somehow I don't need the other. In fact, I'm not part of the other. I don't, now, my ancestry, that was for those folks. And my future is only me. Wow. And there are folks around the planet who function that way, isolating their consciousness, which then isolates the essence of their well being. Because, quite frankly, we need everyone to be healthy in order to say we're fully healthy. I know that's perhaps a different perspective than some. I'm only as healthy as the so called least among us. So, when that least among us is healthy, I'm healthier. I'm only as free as the so called other. If anyone is encaged or in a jail, there's a part of me that's not free. So when we understand our interconnectedness, one day we'll talk about the spiritual essence of what drives me and what drives a lot of folks, so that you can understand why I have this understanding that we're all one. We come from the same source. We are part of the same source. We go back to the same source. It is my understanding. It is not to be demanded of others. It is an understanding, happened to be shared by billions of people from different contexts. We're on this journey called life. And if we're fortunate, we're growing throughout it. We're learning throughout it. We're giving throughout it. And the more we grow, we learn, we give, the more we receive. And with that is a level of responsibility to continue to grow, to give, to receive. And for those of us who don't know how to receive, I say figure it out, because the universe is constantly giving to you. And too many of us are saying no because we don't believe we deserve it. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I know. I know what it means to believe you've got to do it so called yourself when no one does it themselves. And then when you get help, you're appreciative, you say thank you, but you don't feel like you deserve it. All of us were born deserving everything. We're born wealthy. Think about that. And what is wealth? We get to define wealth in so many different ways, in financial ways, in emotional ways, in terms of our family, the one we're born into, the one we create, or both. We get to define wealth the way we opt to. And yet there's some fundamental wealth that we're born with that is easily taken for granted. And it's someone who is so intensely focused on taking care of the business in front of me I find it challenging to steer off and go to social media to go this because it takes me off of my axis a bit. And yet I do value being able to do that time to time, especially LinkedIn, which is a formal place for professionals. And yet it's become more open to sharing all kinds of things that are not necessarily about elevating one's professional well-being, ensuring one has the connections, the network connections to move forward. And so when someone talks about their child graduating, whether it's from high school or college or from an academy or an institute or completing a major assignment, or someone talks about a child born with uh, so-called crippling disease and wasn't supposed to live beyond the age of 20 and yet they're thriving, or someone mentions a grandmother who transitioned and the remarkable insight she gave him, or someone else talks about the power of her relationship with her wife and how that gives her the fortitude to move forward, or teams of people talk about how they mastered the development of a unique product. They can't talk about it because it is unique to that particular organization, and yet it will transform the industry. Those stories and so many, 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 many more. There's a social issue, an economic issue, a political issue, an agricultural issue, a clean air issue. It's amazing the level of sharing that really taps into the genius of each one of us that could be taken for granted, and I don't think should. And so I'm deeply appreciative to all of you who choose to be transparent with what's going on, because you help to remind us all of the capacity of each one of us. So, entrepreneurial genius of business partners, we need levels of creative disruption to catapult us to levels that we have yet to imagine. And so many of you are in your quiet, silent spaces. Some of you are in very noisy spaces, and you've got a genius idea. You may have even shared it with someone and they shut you down. Oh, who do you think you are? That won't work. Don't stop. You've got that genius idea for a reason. We need you to push forward. People tell all of us things that really reflect more of where they're at the moment than it does anything about ourselves. And yet there's a reason why they're sharing what they're sharing with us or to us or at us. And so pay attention and then choose a course of action. You've got a genius idea and you're hearing no. It may be the universe saying, now it's time to step up and show out. Move forward. They have a right to say no. They don't know what they don't know. Find the yeses. Keep going until you find the right set of yeses. People have innovated themselves and heard a bunch of no's, and they're successful. Individuals who have coached folks, they themselves have been successful. You want the yeses and you want the insight from those who did it, who've been there, done that, and done it more than once and been successful. So it doesn't have to be the same kind of industry. And you have to have some level of trust. And you may not find it out of an individual because you may not have access yet. And emphasis on yet. It may come from a book, may come from an article written by a remarkable person, and she's done great. And you may never meet her. And yet, because of what she put in writing, you get to move it forward. You get to take your ideas to the next level. People have not been extraordinarily successful because people believed in them necessarily initially. Maybe one person did. But usually it was a self-belief. And even with the doubt at times, there was a burning desire that caused them to move and they just couldn't quit. People say, well, why did you do it? I just couldn't quit. Or why did you stay? Everyone, you had all these no's and 10,000 no's. You literally had 10,000 no's. I had to do it. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter if people are looking at you like they looked at Oprah Winfrey when she was younger and said, you're not for prime time. Look at your face. And she looked at her face and she didn't see what other people saw, thank goodness. She saw that she was definitely for prime time. Get my point? You may be 3 feet tall, and you may have the antidote that will cure a major disease. And yet people are looking down at you and dismissive. What are you doing here? It's their stuff, not yours. The genius has to manifest. And so some of us are not manifesting who we are. So what do? This internal chaos. There's even cognitive dissonance. And what do? We go to arrest it. We go to diffuse it. We go to neutralize it, to numb it. Whether it's overdoing chocolate, which I love and used to do, or whether it's something that actually could harm us even more, because too much sugar can undermine the organs and break things down and lead to all kinds of diseases. Too much of anything, quite frankly, could be harmful. But certain things are immediate. And so we do it because we don't want to deal with this stuff. And even if we don't put anything in our body, or we don't physically do anything that's external to harm the body, if the mindset, if the emotional state of us is such that it's unhealthy and becomes more unhealthy, and stress leads to distress, it's no different. And we end up with these diseases. Stress is the number one cause of disease. Speak to any scientist who's worth his or her salt in the research that they've done. They know that. So how do we remove that? We live the genius we are. And I say, take on the entrepreneurial spirit and be among the business partners who make things happen. What's an entrepreneur? I say it's one who chooses to lead. I know there's an interesting dictionary, the statement that says one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise. True. But risk is all relative, because if you're with a system that already exists and you're with folks who've already done it, and they're there to provide you with guidance and expertise, and you're choosing to be coachable, either because that's your wiring or you're forcing yourself into that because you know it's to your greatest good. So if you leverage something that already exists in order to build what you want to create, the risk, you minimize it. There's always risk. I don't care what it is. And yet you can minimize it by taking strategic action. And that's the other thing about entrepreneurs. They act. They don't act because someone tells them to act. They show up and people are like, why are you showing up? You know, the rest of us don't come until 11 o'clock and you're here at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you're like, well, of course, there's things to do. We've got to take care of this. We've got to create this. They're not thinking about the time. They're not thinking about the clock. They're not thinking about what other people are doing. They're so wedded to the bottom line, getting to the end that they've already imagined and imagined big. They've seen it in their mind's eye. They want it manifested. So they're hungry to make it happen. That's an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur becomes a remarkable business owner when he or she leverages or builds a system that can work on its own, has the right partners, and if employees are critical, has the right employees with partners as part of that business to ensure it is working like a fine-tuned engine. People are not the engine. People facilitate the engine. Let's be clear. People are sentient beings to be respected and honored. They're not widgets to be dictated to. They are to be led facilitated, coached, mentored, and an entrepreneur who understands that he wants to, they want to get to the bottom line. They want to create the imaginings they've had, they've dreamed about. They're driven to get up in the morning, stay up late, but take care of themselves. Please take care of yourself. It's too many examples of people who make it big and then they go to do something and they're no longer here. Those entrepreneurs who are mindful of balance, like our wealth equations about faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. You find a way to fit it all in and integrate it as you're building whatever you're building with others. Again, not alone. We're not alone. We need each other. So, an entrepreneur, a person who organizes, manages, and assumes some level of risk of a business or an enterprise. Are you an entrepreneur? There are a lot of folks who are entrepreneurs and they're employees. And too many of those of you, and I was one of those, can easily get frustrated because you want the organization just to move. Okay, I know people piss you off, people are not being respectful, etc. But it's not about that. It's about the bottom line. Whatever it is, it's about getting this solution to the whomever, either business or businesses, to people, to communities, to society across the planet. It's about providing quality service. So if you're in that position as an employee, ask yourself, how do you help to shift the organization so it becomes more entrepreneurial in a way that honors everyone? Where you, if you're a leader in that organization, and I would say when you choose to be a leader, whatever role you're in, you're a leader. It's a mindset, not just a position. In fact, leaders are the ones who actually ensure the success of organizations. And some of them are not in leadership roles. And so I ask you, if you're one of those folks who ensure the success of your organization and you're not in a leadership role, you're the kind of person that we look for, who understand the power of the bottom line and providing quality, caring, respectful engagement, bringing more people in to understand how to solve a problem. That's what our businesses are always doing, solving a problem, providing a product, a service. What business is in business that doesn't do that? If you're doing that, you're the kind of person we look for. We want people who literally understand how to engage, how to listen, to understand first. It's not about being understood. As it relates to the needs that individuals have, it's about us demonstrating our understanding of those needs and looking for products and services that align perfectly with their needs. There's no force fit. Whether it's you working in partnership with us or us working in partnership with the client, it's all about what you need, what the client needs, that ultimately leads to the solutions. It's a win-win. What else do I want to share today? And my apologies, the technology is not working so well. I'm not encouraged to share that much, but I am sharing that because sometimes technology does not work. But the powerful thing is that it's working now. And there's a reason why someone helped me understand that you could not hear me. And most importantly, I am sharing in the way that I'm sharing. So I think about whether it is Ariana Huffington came up with an idea, and she took that idea and it was supported by a few, but she had a lot of no's. She made things happen, and then she ended up selling her business and creating a new. I'm thinking about, of course, Mark Zuckerberg, who created something. He had a vision, and he had enough people around him who valued that vision, and the vision was large enough to allow for even more people to come in and very systematically build on that vision, and it went from a local vision that could be countrywide all of a sudden to international worldwide vision. Then Steve Jobs, and then Bill Gates, and then go back to John D. Rockefeller or Andrew Carnegie, or Henry Ford, or Thomas Edison, or come back here to Elon Musk, or all the folks I've not mentioned. And you can think of a lot of women. You can think a lot of young people. You can think of folks who are no longer here, who built industries that previously did not exist, or they were at the forefront working with people to build industries that prior people could only imagine if they imagined. And most people said no to the light bulb. It wasn't possible. It was ridiculous. Just like people said, what do you mean fly? Yeah, I know there are some things on ancient walls about flying vehicles, but that's all. That's all imagination. Was it? If you want to be successful in entrepreneurship, there's some key things that many of you already know. And so I want you to think about you as a successful entrepreneur. Do you demonstrate leadership instincts already? Probably more than you know, but certainly you can develop them. Do you aim for larger goals? Make big impact, not the ones you know how to, but the ones you don't even know how to achieve. Those are the best goals. And if you've not aimed previously for such larger goals, you can do so now. What about researching thoroughly? Is that something that you're wired to do? You can learn to do that without a doubt. Do you always stay focused? Always stay focused on the bottom line. And quite frankly, there are methods to focus, help you focus so that you are unwavering. You're committed to that priority in a way that is not just, this is interesting, let me go over here, this is interesting, this may be helpful, this, and before you know it, 5 years have gone by and you've not moved because you've just taken advantage of what's interesting. Focus. Follow one course until successful. Focus. You stay updated continuously. Understand how to build networks. People within the industry or industries that will benefit from what you intend to do or what you're already doing if you're an entrepreneur. My team and I are in the financial services space. I've gone from higher education, so appreciative, to financial education. And it's powerful. Largest industry in the country, most regulated industry, which I value. A+, A-rated corporations, been around for over 100 years, the majority of them. Remarkable assets to folks. Traditionally, to a narrow band of people. Now, because of the network I'm part of, my own local team, everyone has access. So, do you know your network within that industry that you're in or that you want to be part of? Critical. Most importantly, when you stay focused, are you able to persist with something? Not only follow one course until successful. When the naysayers, when the challenges, when the difficulties, when you're overwhelmed with all kinds of barriers that seem to be insurmountable, are you able to stop and breathe continuously? Stay focused, take the next step, take the next step. And before you know it, you're leaping over nonsense. You're penetrating barriers. You're going around ridiculous circumstances. And then the light gets larger, bigger and bigger, more illuminating the manifestations you've been working so hard for, and they come like that. And you're looking back at time, you're like, oh my God, there were so many struggles, but it seems like I got here easier than I thought. When you're in it, it's difficult. But when you get there, it's like, oh my God, was it really that difficult? Yes, it was. It doesn't matter because it wasn't about the difficulty only. The difficulty was a precondition to you demonstrating that you have the resilience, you have the capacity, you can exceed your own high expectations. So persist because you can and because you deserve to give that gift to you. The biggest gift that we can give ourselves, I firmly believe, is to grow always. Another gift, and it's fundamental, it's a precursor to growth, and that is unconditional love. And when we are given a genius, the capacity to lead and lead with distinction, that's a gift. We benefit from honoring ourselves by leading in that way. Just show up. And you'd be surprised how many people have been waiting for you. It's amazing. There are still times where I believe I talk too much. Can you believe that? And there are times where I just think I want to facilitate other people talking. And yet at time when I start talking and sharing what comes to mind, what intuitively I believe I'm to share, people are like, "Oh my God, I needed that." And then I realize I'm reminded of what I know intellectually. I experience what I know intellectually and even spiritually, that all of us are here for a reason, and that includes me. And it's for us to give in ways that we are uniquely qualified for. And I don't mean someone gave us a degree that we earned or someone gave us something else. No, we were born with these options, with this capacity. No one gives it to us. They help facilitate us bringing it out. They help us grow if we allow them, if they're the right people. So I want you to think about context. There's a few sharings that I reviewed recently. Richard Branson, for some of you remember and know, Virgin, that whole brand. He says there's no greater thing you can do with your life and your work than follow your passion in a way that serves the world and you. And we know from so many texts, including one of the seminal ones, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, you find it in all the religious texts too, quite frankly. So it's not surprising that when he interviewed the over 500 men and women across the globe, but primarily in this Western hemisphere, that they said the same thing, or they illuminated the same thing. And one of those things beyond burning desire that led to their success was that they were doing something that was adding value to many people. And so the universe, of course, gave them wealth in return, riches in return. We give in a way that actually adds value. People need it, and they need it to a great degree. They're going to leverage it. And what's going to happen to those of you who provide such? You're going to get the gifts from the universe. And what does Bill Gates say? He says, we all need people. We all need people who will give us feedback. Power of business partners. That's how we improve. So Dell Computers, Michael Dell shared, there's a lot of things that go into creating success. I don't like to do just the things I like to do. I like to do things that cause the company to succeed. I don't spend a lot of time doing my favorite activities. It's emphasizing the bottom line. Start with the end in mind and then focus. Leverage other people to ensure you're able to get there. But you can't leverage them if you're not leading them. What does that mean again? It's honoring, respecting, seeing their talents, encouraging them to bring it out, and getting out of their way and let them take care of business. Providing course correction, that's part of leading. Look at the big picture. Not everybody sees the big picture. And it's your responsibility to communicate it more effectively, to ensure that people see the big picture. And then provide the resources to mobilize. I used to tell people when I was a college president, One of my primary roles, if not my primary role, beyond the vision, was to really facilitate unencumbering the organization from administrative bureaucracy so that people could do the work they were hired to do. People are like, well, that's a concept. Well, why not? We want our organizations to be successful, whether they're large, small, mid-size, they're community-based, they're international corporations. We need them to provide the services, the products and services the society requires in a humane way. And what better way to do that is to have the kind of entrepreneurial leaders who understand the power of partnering with folks within the organization, across organizations, and beyond. There's another one. Elon Musk, of course, he says, persistence is very important. You should not give up unless you are forced to give up, meaning that someone literally tied your hands or they shut down your business. Makes me think of Tesla and what happened to him. And Elon Musk, interesting enough, created one of his business using Tesla's name. So he understood the power of persistence. It's another one. It's very important to learn quick lessons from your failures. Very important to recognize symptoms of failure pretty early. And it is very, very important to not be attached too much to the idea. You have to know when to give up an idea. You don't give up the vision, but you give up an idea related to that vision. You don't give up the pursuit. You just shift based upon getting good information. Becoming an entrepreneur. What do you have a burning desire for or to do? What type of impact do you wish to make? Are the existing systems that will facilitate your successful pursuit of your own burning desire? Have others already been successful in that industry or type of endeavor who you may want to leverage as mentors or coaches? Have you determined the niche, the market, the audience you want to reach? Have you identified your network, developed a plan that includes, of course, the vision, the mission, the core values, the goals? And if they're old goals, then benchmarks, strategies, action plans, implementation yesterday, right away, with the resources you need. Hmm. What if there was a system? What if there is a system that will help you achieve what you've imagined? What if there's a system that exists now that will help you achieve what you've imagined? Would you pursue it? Hmm. I want you to know a little bit about what we do. At first, I want to ask you, are you a professional with a dream, with a burning desire that entails working with people because you enjoy working with people? Are you motivated by the idea of leading and developing teams? How would you enjoy life more if you had the freedom to manage your own schedule while generating additional income? Well, I enjoyed a rewarding career as an educator and an executive in higher education over a 40-year period, as I shared earlier. My transition into financial education continues to provide me with the opportunity to serve countless individuals and families while cultivating leaders, including business partners in the process. And in fact, in our agency, we're all about developing leaders. Can you imagine the kind of joy that comes from not concerned just about widgets? In fact, you don't have to deal with widgets. You're concerned, and I know I'm using that metaphorically and even literally, concerned about people, developing people into the powerful, powerful individuals they already are, yet may not be manifesting. They get to draw out their strengths, illuminate more clearly their own core values. It makes them the special people that they are. In fact, my team and I have remarkable vision, and one that's large, in the largest industry in the country. And it's big enough to ensure the kind of impact that a lot of folks want to make, and that will lead to families, individuals, and even businesses, one generation to the next generation to the next generation, feeling the outcome. If you're seeking the opportunity to move in such a space into a more fulfilling career serving others to achieve financial independence while developing yourself and building a business in the process, we encourage you to contact us. In fact, I'm going to put in the chat, if I can make it happen, how you can reach us. Set up an appointment. Are you curious to learn, build rapport, and to achieve in ways that perhaps you've not done before, or you've done before well and you want to share it? We welcome you to join us. Are you a connector of people and ideas? Do you manage time well to deepen relationships? Do you value quality relationships? Do you listen first to understand? Are you organized? And do you take action with the speed of instruction? Are you choosing to be the brilliant you, not the perfect you? We don't seek perfection. We seek folks who choose to use their smarts, their strengths, knowing that they have weaknesses that we can minimize, because some weaknesses you don't even need to work on because they're not relevant to what you're going to do and who you are. We can also help you develop in some of those areas that are weaknesses by aligning you with leaders, including myself, who have strengths in those areas or understand how to facilitate the development of those weaknesses into strengths. We are a good bunch. We're a diverse bunch, men and women, young and old. You have to be at least 18. And we're really a team of professionals who care about people. We expect to make a difference because we can. We have to because it's our own burning desire. And yet we do it in a way to honor those 5 F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. And we're in our diversity, some of us are like, oh, we are so wired. Okay, we got to do this, we got to do this. And then others of us are so mellow. We are like people. We show up, we demonstrate, we provide, we facilitate, we care, we keep moving. We keep moving. We're on a mission, and that mission is part of a huge vision. Can you imagine helping 1 million families in just 5 to 10 years? 1 million families on the path to financial independence. We encourage you to imagine that and even much more. Because how many people are on this planet? Again, I hope you heard this part. I begin with, what if this life was such that all humans were healthy? Emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, we were all healthy. What if we were all free to experience joy all the time? when we want to. Not just happiness for a moment, but real deep joy because of the respect, the honoring we give to our own selves that just reverberates throughout our families, our neighborhoods, our villages, our communities, our society, the world. What if? And I always like to follow when we experience that. And again, I want to emphasize it's not about perfection, it's about honoring our capacity to be the solutions that we need. I want to thank you for being here, leveraging us. And I want to thank you for listening. And I want us to resume taking questions from you. So we'll have a segment at the end in subsequent broadcasts where we receive the questions from a number of members of our audience in advance, and then we'll answer them as part of the broadcast. We really want you to know that it's about you leading, you demonstrating the excellence that you really, I think, at your core personify, and knowing that you can provide on demand leadership and we have a leadership development organization that could facilitate even more of your own illumination of your genius, especially as we help more leaders become effective leaders in the financial services space. So if you're interested, join us. Our contact information is there. The Calendly link, set up an appointment. And most importantly, thank you for choosing to show up in your respectful, honorable ways. Make a difference because you can. Always with deep appreciation.